Hello YouTubers! Great news! I was selected as a keynote speaker for Arch Summit. It is a conference on software architecture in Shenzhen, China. It's my first time in China, therefore I'm super excited for that. And being a keynote speaker in a country like China is such an honor. You know, it doesn't happen every day that you are called from a conference for delivering a keynote talk in a country that you've never been. So it's an absolute dream, especially because it's one of my favorite topics, software architecture. I'm going to talk about how to design serverless applications in AWS. I thought that would be very nice to add a bit of spice and a change of way how I'm, let's say, interacting with you in a more vlog style in this case, and sharing the journey. I will have also an additional talk during the conference. I have like my keynote plus a regular talk on microfrontends anti-patterns. That is a talk I've already done a few times, but again, it's I need to change the way how I should deliver it. Why that? Because the reality is China, like many other countries in Asia, they tend to over-communicate and have, let's say, a lot of information available in the slides. So if you take the slides, you can, let's say, read and understand what was the context of the talk. In reality, in Western countries, I'm more used to design text in a different way, where there are more, let's say, diagrams and less information, is less overwhelming. But in this case, China, because they are not native speakers in English, I need to tweak the way how I'm designing my slides. Obviously, bring you with me also in China. So this will be a project that will take several weeks before it will be accomplished. And I think it's nice to share the thought process, what I'm doing, and all the other things. Yeah, let's get started. I started to gather my thoughts on how I want to design this keynote for the Chinese conference Arc Summit. I have collected a bunch of resources and ideas in my mind map, and I identified the key topics that I want to discuss, like how to shift the mindset when you are designing serverless application, and what is the serverless first strategy. That is another deck that I prepare for AWS. The interesting point for me is that I need to provide a re-elaboration of this material that we are used to present sometimes in AWS in a way that I can provide an angle that give software architects what is needed in order to start thinking about serverless properly. Because the reality is a keynote, right? So it's not the expectation usually for a keynote is not that you drill down code examples or stuff like that. Usually in a keynote, unless is a specific conference that, like, there are many out there on vertical technology, like, I don't know, a React conference or just a serverless conference, stuff like that, you tend to drill down into specific of an element. But in a keynote for software architecture, usually you want to provide a mental model. You want to provide something that is helping the software architect to think correctly. And that's exactly what I want to provide. I want to provide that mental model that unlock the people to look at serverless from a different perspective. So I have a few ideas there. I will push towards the concept of modularity that I think is a key characteristic in distributed system. So after this stage, where I collected all my ideas in a mind map, I move into the creation of the slide deck, and there usually what I do is starting with a bunch of slides, the one that I'm pretty sure or the key area that I want to cover, and I know already how to do that, and from there I connect the dots, and therefore I try to create this narrative that is touching the key points, and I see how I can rearrange the whole thing. So obviously the challenge when you create a deck is around how many slides you're going to have. There are different styles that you can have. In my style personally is usually having an average of 2 minutes per slide. That is usually, I know how many slides I need to build for for, I don't know, 1 hour talk, 20 minutes talk, and so on. I know that, for instance, for 60 minutes talk that I'm going to have, if I consider 5 minutes buffer for our questions, probably I will need to create something like 25, 30 slides overall, potentially stretching to 35. So I have all the covers and the thank you notes and all the other stuff, but the core message, I will have some slides that will spend 2 minutes, other less, other more. So that is my aim. And usually what I do is, because I thought very well about the title and description, I tried to ask myself, when I prepared the first draft of the slides, was I able to meet the expectations of my talk, or what I thought it could be a very interesting keynote or not. And from there I walk backwards in order to add or remove slides that are less impactful or less interesting for what I want to communicate. The content of the slides is definitely ready. The interesting part is that I was able to finish the narrative, adding few skeleton slides, as I call them, where I usually add some bullet points where I describe what I want to achieve, and then I start to look into how to design them, how to express what I want to build. I think the narrative is pretty solid. I need to pass at least another couple of times, give or take, just to make sure that I cover the key parts of what I want to present. I'm pretty happy with the result. I think I had a very nice twist towards the end, where instead of listing all the different architectures and patterns that you can have with serverless, I put everything together in an example workload, where I start from the business requirements, move into the high-level architecture, and then finally express everything using serverless. That I think is very nice, because it provides like a real concrete example. And also this architecture is something that back in the days I worked on, so it's a real example. It's not something that I invented. I think it will resign very well. I've seen also in the past with other talks that I have done, when you have something that is concrete and explain architecture, talking with let's say real case scenarios, it's very useful. People really like that and really resign well. And moreover, I think the architecture is a very abstract concept, and therefore sometimes for people could be boring if they don't see, let's say, a concrete implementation, something that is relatable to them. That is one of the key things that we do when we communicate in general. If you think about how to create a YouTube video or a blog post, you tend to take a problem and trying to resolve for your readers or watchers, and in a talk is exactly the same way. You try to explain something that can be relatable to the people, because otherwise no one will really listen to you, or they turn off their brain during the talk. That is let's say not a great experience for anyone. Moreover, I'm pretty pleased that I applied one of the key techniques when you do talks. Very often, talking about turning off the brain, you will have people that might know a part of your talk, possibly in deep or not, it doesn't matter, but they feel that they know that part, so they switch off their brain, maybe they look at their mobile phone and so on. So one key trick for preparing a talk is divided by chapters or sections, so everyone can jump out and in the way that they want during the talk. So maybe they see, like, I don't know, 3 sections, and they start to pay attention to 3 sections over 5 or 6 or 7, doesn't matter. But the important thing is that you provide these hooks for them, where they can start to understand. Maybe even 50% of the talk would be fantastic sometimes, because we have to capture the attention of people is not always easy. So I really want to give a possibility to also switch off during the talk, because at the end, 45 minutes talk, 50 minutes talk is a lot of attention span for many people. And I think this one could help. The beginning seems quite solid, and trying to focus immediately on the key parts, so trying to build serverless applications and why those would help with distributed systems. At the end, a good wrap up, and trying to provide how serverless solves their problem in distributed systems. And last but not least, as you can see here, I created like these slide that is the final one, where I explain grow your software, not build your software, because distributed systems are living systems. I think next week I'm going to review the slides and adding probably a few of them, removing some of them, or changing, tweaking them. Then I will probably share with a bunch of colleagues to see their impression, their feedback, if I'm missing something, if the narrative is fluid, and potentially I can do also a couple of rehearsals before flying to China. And then, when I will be there, I will definitely do 2 or 3 rehearsals before the session, just to make sure that it's fluid. I feel comfortable sharing the slide. I have like highlighted and pause in the right part of every slide. I emphasize also the key things. So it's going to be quite an interesting one. Hopefully it will be good. Hey Matt, how's it going? Yeah, so this is my colleague Matt, and he's helping me with the rehearsal of my talk. So it's extremely important to do this phase before your talk, because learning how to, let's say, prepare for your talk, understand why and how you're going to deliver the talk on the stage is essential. Why I pick Matt over others? There is a strong reason, because I know Matt is not afraid to tell me, no, this, Luca, is not going to work, or you could do better. And that is an essential thing for selecting the person that is going to do the rehearsal with you, either colleague, friend, or whatever. Because having people that are honest, and they will help you a lot during the process to provide honest feedback, and are not afraid to speak up and improve your content. So I arrived to China in Shenzhen, all great, apart from a typhoon that almost got my plane. So I spent a bit of time reviewing my presentation, my keynote, for at the end of the week. And I have to say I'm not too happy with the opening. I think the last 2 rehearsal I started with the concept of distributed system, and trying to explain how serverless position into the distributed system. But I think considering the following slides after the introduction, there will be heavily focused on distributed system. I think I need to find a slightly different angle to make more catchy on the serverless side. You have to know that opening and closings of the talk are the most difficult part, at least for me, because I really want to make an impact over there, because usually are the first thing and the last thing that people remember. So the first thing, you drag the attention, and when you close and you hand your talk, is the last words that remain in their head, and therefore the impact that those parts could have are incredible. I need to think something that is more catchy on the serverless side, and trying to figure out a great opening that will link the concept of distributed system, serverless, and design principles together, creating a nice glue that make very interesting narrative. The other thing that I like about openings, well done openings, is the fact that they are talking to the attendees. Usually you focus the effort or your words towards them, what they are gaining, and I believe is something that I need to think about. But still, I have other 4 days before my keynote, so it should be fine. For the closing, I'm fairly happy. I tried a couple of times to talk, one with Matt, as you have seen, and the feedback was positive. He asked me to change a couple of things here and there, but nothing major. I believe I made the presentation even better with these suggestions, and it's great because, as I said, having people that can judge your work in, let's say, positive way, and they can provide constructive feedback. That is the key thing. It doesn't matter if they destroy what you have built so far, because if you think receiving a feedback is probably the most amazing gift a person could do to you. We should remove from any feedback, also the most negative one and the most harsh one, we should remove the emotional side and focus on what they try to communicate. Sometimes, it's just a bad feedback, and okay, that's fine, we can discard that. But very often, also in feedback that are pretty harsh, there is some truth that we can investigate if you're doing it the right way or not. The adrenaline starts to pump in my veins, and obviously a bit of nervousness, as every speaker, I would say. So don't be fooled. Also, experienced speakers are nervous before a talk, especially when it's a keynote. I know that now you're curious to understand how did it go. So let's find it out.
无服务器 Serverless 如今已经成为软件开发的加速器，并且已经在许多业务场景里面落地。今天我们也非常荣幸邀请到了 AWS 的首席 Serverless 专家架构师 Luca 来到现场，给大家分享 Serverless 设计原则、有效架构的选择实践。掌声有请 Luca。Welcome Luca。
Hello everyone, thanks for having me. It's an honor being here in China today talking about serverless. November 2014, it's when AWS released for the first time AWS Lambda, the first serverless services that was out there. And since then, everything changed. Let's start talk about distributed system. So very often when we think about distributed system, we forget to think that they are living systems. They need to be nurtured, they need to be taken care of, we need to check they're healthy, we need to check their extensibility and so on and so forth. How to design serverless applications, because it requires a shift of mindset. And I want to show you that there are 3 connected dimensions in distributed systems. So the first one is the organization. How you're going to structure your team matters, because in distributed system is not just a technology choice, it's an organizational one as well. The culture inside your teams matters. The way how you are developing software, how you are enabling team to achieve a specific goal is an important part. And last but not least, how you're going to design your architecture. I want to close with one of the quotes that for me is fundamental in distributed system. That is this one. Grow your software, don't build them. After the keynote, I had an interview with InfoQ about serverless and the role of serverless, and my impression on how it's going to evolve serverless in general for the future, and how it will blend with generative AI and so on. And hopefully the interview will be available very soon. Right after, I did the second talk on microphone tense anti-patterns. And also there, the session went extremely well. I had tons of people in the room, and I received like several questions. So it means that people were engaged and really liked the content. In the afternoon, I went to the local AWS user group where I deliver another talk about how to design microphone tents in AWS. And there were 50 people, given or take, where they really enjoyed the session. A couple of questions at the end on how to optimize the performances of microservices on AWS. So all good. The trip was amazing. I met so many fantastic people that I want to thank warmly because I really felt part of that community. And generally, I hope that if you all pass through Shenzhen, you will be able to join their sessions, because it's absolutely great what the community is doing. And I'm glad that I was part of it, because I'm a big fan of communities in general. I am a self-taught, and therefore I learn a lot from what the people are sharing and what they are doing. So for me, just contributing is a mission, and I really hope that also with this video you will be able to get some insights on how to design a public talk. Moreover, in a couple of months' time, I will have another big conference. I don't reveal which one, but if you're interested to follow me also there, and you would like to know more how to prepare another type of talk this time, not a keynote, feel free to add a comment below, so I will know what you are looking for, what you're interested. If you like this kind of vlog where I take you with me in my trips around the world. So thank you very much for listening, and see you to the next episode of My 50 Cents.